the other trouble. Because of the program, we take your questions. But first, subscribe to our YouTube channel and drop your questions in the comment section. It's important to mention that we can only read comments with human names and the ones based on the subject matter. I have Jeremy Bazum, the master himself, of Majide Kolade Studio. Good to see you again, BKO this evening.
Good evening, Ibrahim. Good evening to our esteemed viewers.
Right. First of all, let me get your reactions to the Supreme Court's overturning of the October the 5th, 2024 local government election in Rivers State, declaring it null and void. What do you make of this, BK?
Yeah, let me start by saying if every local government election held by governors across the states were subjected to the same kind of scrutiny, were litigated upon the same way that of Rivers had been litigated upon, and it gets all the way to the Supreme Court, the outcome will have been the same. Local government elections are held in our country without regard for the letters of the Electoral Act. Local government elections are held in our country in a manner that suggests that governors do not care. Figures are simply written. They do not give us details as per word by word collation of results. In most cases, they simply just announce the names of winners of the local government elections. There's a lot of impunity about the conduct of local government elections in our country. Now, going specifically into your question, the APC challenged the conduct of the local government election, and at the lower court, the court of first instance, they argued that there was no evidence that the conditions stipulated by Section 150, subsection 3 of the Electoral Act 2010 were met before the election was conducted. Supreme Court Judge Justice Jamilu Tukur agreed that the elections were held in contravention of the Electoral Act. Remember that Justice Lifu, who had given that earlier judgment, contended that the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission failed to publish the 90-day mandatory notice before the election was conducted. He also added that update and revision of voters register to be used in the conduct of that election ought to have been concluded before the election took place. So the Supreme Court had no choice but to uphold the appeal brought by the APC in respect of the November 21 appeal court judgment, which validated the elections. So the Supreme Court gave reasons why that election could not stand. People need to obey the law, the Electoral Act in this case. The law by nature is not sentimental. The law does not care about your emotions. A lot of Nigerians are not interested in facts. A lot of Nigerians are not interested in a healthy argument. they make up their minds even before they get the facts of an issue. For example, where an issue has to do with alleged sexual harassment, many people, especially women, will readily conclude that the man is guilty even before the facts are presented. And we have seen in many cases where women simply lied against men and the men were vindicated in the final analysis. There are so many footballers, for example, because they always target the upwardly mobile and rich people. There are so many footballers that we can recall. One went to jail only for the woman who lied against him to come out after the guy had spent years in jail to say, I lied against this person. But that is not the issue today. The point that I'm making is that Nigerians do not usually wait for the facts of a matter to be laid bare before them before they make up their minds on issues. And this is a very, very bad attitude. We must be ready for a healthy argument. That is how we can grow as a nation. So, and I'm saying that Rivers, Fubara just happened to be like a scapegoat in this case. I'm saying that all the other local government elections were not better than the ones conducted in Rivers State. But because those cases were not taken to court and they did not get to the apex court, those guys are there, the winners are in office. But in this case, the APC went to court and detailed non-compliance with the Electoral Act. And the Supreme Court sat on the matter and concluded that indeed certain portions of the Electoral Act were contravened and it had no choice but to cancel that election. And I believe that given the positions pushed by the Supreme Court, the argument of the Supreme Court, I'm convinced that the Supreme Court did the right thing. If we want to do elections, we should do elections the right way. We should respect the letters of the Electoral Act, the letters of the law. So if you are supposed to update the register before an election takes place, if you fail to update the register and you simply went to conduct an election, you contravened the Electoral Act because it's stated there. If you are supposed to give 90-day notice and you fail to give 90-day notice, yet it is stated in the law, you have contravened it. You have given the court valid grounds upon which it should throw away your case. So that's that with the electoral, with the judgment of the court. What I do not know now, since these local government chairmen have been sacked, is whether the former local government chairmen whose tenures were elongated by the Martin Amewule-led House of Assembly will be the ones to return to the local government councils. I do not know. That is another matter that the courts will decide. As far as they are concerned, the House of Assembly had prolonged their say. And the Supreme Court had also said earlier that where the tenure of the House of Assembly, of the local government chairmen had come to an end, but there is difficulty in conducting an election, the House of Assembly can extend their tenure. Now, the Martin Amewule faction had done just that. I've said repeatedly that a lot of issues revolve around the status of the House of Assembly members, the 27 House of Assembly members. If the court says, look, these guys are valid members of the House of Assembly, it means that the steps that they are taking have also been validated. So the issue now is, will Chidi Lloyd and co then by law be permitted to go back to their local government headquarters and function as local government chairman, since the Martin Amewule faction of the House of Assembly that the Supreme Court has recently validated their membership of the House took that decision. A lot of steps being taken. Maybe some of them will go to court to try and seek some interpretation of knotty issues about the law. We are yet to see the certified true copy of the Supreme Court judgment. But those who are in court, who listen to those judges, are already interpreting, and the pronouncement of the five-man panel as it affects the political development in Rivers State. So that is that in respect of the
That's right.
Local government election. That's
right. So, but now talking about with the Supreme Court upholding the positions of the 27 lawmakers, how do you think Governor Fubara can effectively mend relations with the legislative arm to secure collaborative governance? Do you think this might happen any moment now?
I don't know what's going through his mind. I have no means by which I can know his plans. And the governor seems to have a lot of advisors, a lot of them his advisors, who are helping him to dig himself further and further into a hole. We don't know what advice they are giving the governor at this time. But I've always said on this program that since political solution has failed, it is a judicial solution that will resolve this matter. Once the final court in our country has spoken, there's nothing anybody can do about it. There's nothing anybody, you cannot change their decision. Some sheepish governors who lost their positions and decided and appealed to the Supreme Court to change his mind. We all know how it ended up. Governor Yari and the APC leadership in Zamfara State lost from top to bottom. And they thought that they could get the Supreme Court to reverse its decision. Andy Uba lost his position as governor of Anambra State, and he thought the Supreme Court would reverse itself. The Supreme Court didn't reverse itself. Once the Supreme Court has spoken, it is final. Obasanjo as president persecuted Atiku so much to the point that he wanted to remove him as his deputy. And they told him, no, you have no power to remove him, because you people are like Siamese twins. You are products of the same ticket. And Obasanjo had no choice. And the Supreme Court ordered INEC to include Atiku Abubakar on the ballot for the 2007 election. So if as president, as a powerful president, and the sort of president who was on many occasions self-serving, he could not disobey the Supreme Court order on a matter that was dear to his heart. So who is that Nigerian who will say he will not honor Supreme Court order? Governor
Right.
Fubara's choices are clear. He needs to go and obey the Supreme Court. Obey the Supreme Court. When your election was challenged, the case went up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court gave you victory. You cannot decide which judgment of the Supreme Court you want to obey. It will be irresponsible of the Rivers governor to not obey the Supreme Court. And I have no reason to think that he will not obey the judgment of the Supreme Court, because the Constitution says the judgment of courts, especially the judgments of the apex court of our land, which is also regarded as the court of policy, are enforceable. And when they say they are enforceable, it means that the armed forces are in position to implement the decisions of the Supreme Court. No man can be greater than the laws of his country. The Supreme Court has spoken. No man can continue to run the assembly with 3 individuals. I said it at that time that it was barbaric, and I'm still saying that I've not seen any country in the world where it has happened. It was a national shame to have Okojombo and 2 others presiding over the affairs of the assembly. And the Supreme Court made it clear that there was no governance in Rivers State. Governance is not simply about the governor of a state. And the Supreme Court said all the organs, all the arms of government must be allowed to perform their duties, and that nobody should impede the Martin Amewule faction, which is seen as the properly constituted house, from performing its functions. So today, Martin Amewule is recognized as the Speaker of the House of Assembly, and the governor, by the decision of the Supreme Court, cannot stop him from functioning in that capacity. The Supreme Court also came down heavily on the Rivers governor and said clearly that he was not fit for governance. They described his decision to demolish the House of Assembly complex because he was afraid of being impeached as irresponsible and an act of indiscipline. So this governor must first and foremost obey the order of the Supreme Court. After that, he can seek how the issues between him and the House of Assembly members can be resolved. It's a failure on his part that Wike, who is not a governor, who is just a minister in Abuja, found a way to hold on to 27 members. And he, the governor, with all the resources at his disposal, could not diplomatically get some of those people to his side. When Chimaroke Nnamani was in this kind of situation in 1999, he was in conflict with his political leader, Sir Jim Ifeanyichukwu Nwobodo. Chimaroke Nnamani, who was brought into Nigeria from the US, where he was a practicing medical doctor, had that conflict with his political leader. But he eventually, and the house was polarized between both men. Chimaroke Nnamani eventually got the majority of the members to his side. At the time, they were tied in terms of the number of people supporting both men. He eventually got some more people to his side, and that crisis ended. he took control of the House. Fubara has not been able to do that. And it's shocking to me because this is the first time I will see that happen. That somebody who is not a governor will have greater influence on the assembly members more than you. And when
Right.
people say, oh, Fubara turned this into an Ijaw battle, some of the people, some of the assembly members on Wike's side, there are Ijaws amongst them. So even his own people, he couldn't get some of his own people to be on his side. Now, his choice is clear. Go and present that budget to the majority house. Because the era of presenting a trillion naira budget to just three individuals is gone. The courts have put an end to that. And the argument, let me also add that the Supreme Court, there's something that I've always said here on Journalists Hangout, that nobody automatically loses his position. All of the lawyers who are going on TV saying, oh, you automatically lose your position, they cannot cite an instance where it has happened. You cannot cite it. And the Supreme Court also said it is not automatic. So what are they going to say next? When we say these things, they will abuse us. They will say, oh, he's a wicked person, he likes wicked, this and that. But the truth is the truth.
That's right.
It is the courts alone that can take away the seat of a lawmaker who defected to a party. It is the courts. He does not automatically lose that seat just because he said he has defected. And that issue has been conclusively decided.
Decided, right. Faye OJ says, what's going to happen to all commissioners that Fubara has appointed? Akinlalu Shegun says, Babajide, you are the best analyst of modern days. There is nothing Supreme Court said that you did not touch or analyze. God bless and protect you against all odds. You have been warning Fubara. Adeshola Adebanjo says, please, Maestro, what will happen to the defection case pending in the court? Lawal Kadiri says, all the commissioners' appointments by Fubara are non void. You respond to that. And then Faye OJ says, Babajide, all your analyses are always correct. Some of our lawyers misled Fubara. Then Adiri Henry says, is there a silver lining for Fubara? He will answer those questions. Timothy Adebita says, BKO, well done. Should Governor Fubara refuse to comply with the Supreme Court's judgment, what would be the repercussions for the governor? Yes, he will answer that question. I just want to take some comments as much as I can because there are lots of comments here. I'll try to go through some. Milton Songa says, BKO, some on-air lawyers are beginning to come up to say that the Supreme Court judgment is different from the issue of defection of River State lawmakers. What's the actual standpoint on this? So, BKO, before I continue with some other questions, comments, I wanted to react to what you think will happen to the commissioners and that of Mr. Songa's comment saying that lawyers are beginning to say, react to the Supreme Court judgment that this case is different from that of the defections of River State lawmakers. What's the actual point on this?
Well, once the Supreme Court validated the judgment that began from Justice Omotosho's court, once the Supreme Court, all of these issues were part of what Justice Omotosho decided. Justice Omotosho recognized the Martin Amewule faction, and the appeal court also did the same thing. People trying to give different interpretations to judgments of the courts. Good luck to them. The important thing at this point, let's even agree that yes, there was a case that Fubara's people instituted at the lower court in Rivers in respect of that case. The goal was to prolong the matter, to delay the resolution of that matter. The goal in instituting that case was to delay the decision on that court, was to buy time. Now that the Supreme Court has said that those guys should be allowed, the properly constituted house, Martin Amewule faction, should be allowed to do its work. The Supreme Court did not say because the issue of defection is still being debated. No, they cannot. As far as the Supreme Court is concerned, those are the valid members of the House of Assembly. There was an earlier judgment that was given where the judge said they have not provided evidence that those guys are defected. I think even Justice Omotosho touched on that they had not provided evidence that those guys are defected. Let me predict right here that Martin Amewule and co, it may be something that people hate to hear. Even if the Supreme Court were to sit on the matter, the issue is they have not provided enough evidence to show that they have left the party. If you are saying somebody has joined a party, you must provide the party register. The party register of the PDP does not show that their names have been expunged as members of the party. The party register of the APC does not show that they have been received into the party. The law, you see, as far as these judges are concerned, the matter of whether they are defected is seen as a rumor until you provide evidence that shows clearly that they have moved into another party. And the case will be thrown out. Let us leave emotions. Those guys, yes, they wanted to leave. We saw clearly that they wanted to leave. But they also were aware that to join a party, there are certain steps that you must take. They refused to take those steps. They refused to take those steps. Look at Ned Nwoko, for example. Ned Nwoko has defected to the APC. He made a whole lot of noise about it. And he has even met with the party leaders at his ward level. None of these guys went to their ward level, to the APC ward meeting to say that they have joined the party. So they knew what they didn't have to do, and they refused to do it, so that you will not be able to prove that they had indeed left. So is the evidence. You must show evidence that they have indeed joined the APC. If you cannot find the evidence, just as Justice Omotosho said, then you cannot convince the courts that they have indeed left, because they refuse to formally join the party. Yes, they expressed the desire to join, but they did not actualize it. This is the truth. This is the truth. And a long time ago, I said it on journalists, and that those guys came short of taking concrete steps to join the party, because they knew that if they did that, it would be used against them in court. So they didn't do it. There was no rally. There was no rally, for example, that they attended where their hands were raised up that they had indeed joined the party.
Absolutely, Ken. Right. So let me take one or two comments because of our time. Nelson Adefe says, "Can the lion be greater than the jungle? Fubara began this dance of shame from inception and should be preparing to have a bigger case against the Constitution. BKO, I beg, teach them history. Green Nakini says, and Kakini says, River State has passed the level where one ungrateful bitter soul can ignite ethnic politics. Nelson Wilfred says Governor Fubara should set his ego aside and see how he can settle his dispute with Wike. Luminous says, Babajide is my idol. I respect this level of intelligence. His analyses are always data-driven. Nuruddin Isa Aladodo says, Fubara lost the fight already. If he refused to obey the apex court, he wouldn't be able to win the defection case, as that would mean his lack of confidence in the judiciary, that even, okay, his comments didn't end. So many comments, but I would like you to react to to clarify what you said earlier on regarding the representation or the representation of budget. Given the nullification of the 2024 budget, do you think, are you referring to the 2024 budget to be represented or the 2025 budget?
I think now, realistically speaking,
because
it is a 2025 budget. He has presented 2025 budget already, but he has to represent it. One thing is certain. Martin Amewule had earlier even suspended Okojombo and co. So unless a political solution is sought, he will go ahead and get them out of the house. Because it would then be argued that they had not sat for the required number of days that a member of the house should be in attendance. Because from Justice Omotoso's judgment, the Martin Amewule faction had been recognized as the Martin Amewule's speakership had been recognized. So it means that what they were doing was known to law. So now the other people, Martin Amewule and co, could then argue that they had not been attending sittings. And by so doing, their seats would be declared vacant. I won't be surprised if Martin Amewule goes on to do that. Let me also tell Nigerians that Martin Amewule had been attending the conference of Nigerian speakers meetings. They've been having meetings. There was no time that Okojombo attended the meeting. It was Martin Amewule that was recognized by the speakers of all the states in Nigeria, and he had been attending their meetings. So Okojombo, being a speaker who is only known to supporters of the governor and some of the people who hate Wike and believe that it is right for 3 individuals to run a house. And the Supreme Court was clear that when it comes to representation, you must have the quorum. Because if you do not have that, that means that their constituents are not going to be represented. And the matter of appropriation, this is where it is an emotive issue, because it is during budget, during appropriation, that every constituency gets something from government. You get projects coming your way. If your representatives are not sitting in the house with others, chances are that your constituency will not be adequately, that will not get some of what should go to them. So the Supreme Court was clear that, look, you cannot run the house with 3 individuals. They agreed with Justice Omotoso that, in line with the constitution of our country, a house of 31 persons, you cannot use 3 individuals to run it. So that matter is clear. Now people have been asking that, what if the governor fails to present this budget? He has to represent the 2025 budget, because as far as I'm concerned, 2024 is gone. So it makes no sense to say go and represent 2024. What they tried to do by withdrawing that matter, the court referred to it as a crude judicial means. So the court took a dim view of what they did. Now, The 2025 budget is the budget that the governor has to take back because he recently presented that one. No, that was not long ago. He has to now represent that one to the Mati Amewule faction. If Fubara does not obey the judgment of the Supreme Court, I can predict that he will be impeached. Because history also always has a way of repeating itself. Remember when Balarabe Musa had his issues with the Kaduna State House of Assembly, you don't have majority of the lawmakers on your side. Majority of those lawmakers were from MPN. They removed Balarabe Musa. He became the first Nigerian governor to be impeached. So Fubara has to watch it. I know that President Tinubu told the lawmakers not to impeach Fubara, but if he disobeys the order of the Supreme Court, honestly, even the man who said they should not impeach him, I won't be surprised if he calls them to go and do it. So the governor knows what to do. His options are clear. Obey the Supreme Court. You are not the first governor in our country. No governor is known to have willfully disobeyed the Supreme Court. You can keep yourself busy with all kinds of things, but you must obey the Supreme Court. Even during the military era, our soldiers were obeying the Supreme Court, despite the fact that they ruled largely with decrees. We still had courts. The courts were still working. So Fubara must obey the order of the Supreme Court. Otherwise, he will be digging himself further and further into a hole that he cannot come out of. And that could be impeachment.
That's right. That's right. Joseph Ginika agrees with you, says Ugo Chinyere, representing Imo, cheered Fubara to the grave. His Iriagbose says, wow, Martins is so smart and knowledgeable. And then Ugo Chinyere and Fubara learning politics 101 from Wiki. Too many comments, but we just need to go because of our time. Joseph Ginika says, I think Fubara will be humiliated if he dares go to present the budget. We won't want to try again. And last comment I'll be taking, Loud Dell says, BKO, love your analysis. I love your analysis you gave yesterday on Journalist Hangout. May God continue to strengthen and protect you and your family. Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that prayer. And that's our show. You're right. And that's our show for today's edition of Issues with JIDE. Special thanks to you, Babajide Kolade Studio, for those insightful analyses as always. We have so many people joining us this evening, but then we'll have to end the show. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining the show.
Thank you, our viewers. God bless you all.
And thank you to our audience for keeping our company on every edition. You can see the program again anytime by subscribing to our YouTube channel, TVC News Nigeria. Click on the subscribe button to get the latest information. You can also follow us on our social media platforms at TVC News AG and also at Ibrahim_Shita. On behalf of the rest of the team, I'm Ibrahim Shita. See you again next edition. God willing. Bye for now.